Okay, so we are live. So now let's quickly play a short clip, okay, of what is support of Asia Econs about.
Okay.
All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the series of support of Asia Econs. My name is Jeffrey, and I'm the chief educator of Asia Econs. So today I have Jit with me. Jit, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
All right, so Support of Asia Econs is the second community event we have established this year to support our A-level community to help them succeed even beyond A-levels. So in this fortnightly series, we'll be inviting experts to share tips on how to succeed in A-levels and identifying career or course choices. So to parents and students watching this, please help us to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive the latest updates on upcoming events. And please also help to share this live event with your friends, family, colleagues so they can benefit from the collective wisdom of our experts interviewed. And don't forget to say hi to Mr. Teo and Mr. Jit here for the next 45 minutes. So today we have Jit Sharma with us. Jit, say hi again. Hi.
Hey.
So Jit is the founder of the gptutor.com, a leading GP tuition center. So Jit has personally taught over 1,900 students over the past 15 years. Wow, that's quite a long time.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, a fun fact that nobody knows about Jit is that he is fairly humorous, although he doesn't seem like it. All right, Jit, welcome aboard once again. Thanks for
Thanks,
making
Jeffrey.
the
Thanks.
show.
Yeah.
So just like to quickly start off with asking, okay, so 1,900 students is a lot of students.
Yeah.
Over the past 15 years. Wow,
Well,
amazing.
it might extend slightly into 1996. So it's 96, 2006, 2016. So, yeah, I mean, and it also includes students that I've taught overseas. So not just local students, overseas as well. Yeah.
Oh, so you actually taught overseas as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
between 2000 and 2007, I was teaching in the US. And yeah. And then I've also had like few workshop stints in Indonesia and in Mauritius and some other places as well. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. So I actually started off, in the 90s doing corporate work. And, I was traveling and having lots of fun, but it wasn't really very meaningful for me. So I decided to get into teaching, got my license for teaching and then taught for a few years. Between 96 to 99, I taught in Singapore. And then subsequently in the year 2000, I went overseas to do my master's and then spent another 6 years teaching in the US. And then subsequently, I came back in 2007. And then,
2007, right.
2000, and then from 2008, I've been doing full-time GP tutoring. Yeah. Although I've got like certifications in adult training, so I also do some adult training with different organizations as well. But mostly it's GP lah. Yeah, GP work.
All right, interesting. So what actually got you started since 2008? I figured that when you came back from US, you're also figuring out what you want to do, is it?
Correct. I mean, I was working with a major tuition center in Singapore, working with developing their curriculum as well as training their franchisees. So, kind of like to supplement my income, I decided to teach on a part-time basis, although the work was really occupying a lot of my time. So I felt that there was a need for someone to come in and give kind of different perspectives to what is traditionally taught So that's
Yep.
why I thought that I should come in full time and give it my best to students and their parents.
All right. So, am I right to say that it is you started off part time, but because the efforts that they are putting in, okay, is more than equivalent to the full time, and you probably thought that, okay, you might as well do it full time.
Correct. Yeah. Plus, also age was
Hmm.
catching up with me, so I think I needed something that I could sit back and see things develop through my own effort, rather than putting my effort into for somebody else. So I think it has been quite meaningful for me to put in all of this effort. So one thing led to the other, and then in 2015 I published my first book with EPH, and it was a very good seller because they printed twice in 1 year. Right? It was a reprint.
Nice. Do you have the book you want to share with the viewer?
Unfortunately, I don't have that original book, so
Okay.
I somehow missed keeping the copies of that original book.
Oh,
But
the
I
very first,
do,
very first
yeah,
print, is it? Yeah. Okay. Got it.
the
Yeah.
very first print, yeah. But I think, if I'm not wrong, it's still available on Carousel. So I may just buy it for keepsake, yeah. But subsequently, I have published other books as well. So they have typically been bestsellers in Singapore, in
Okay.
the GP segment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much occupying my time right now. Coming
So,
up with revisions to the books, and
so are you still actively writing,
I
or?
am. Yeah.
So
I'm,
how many books have you published so far? And if our parents and students would like to get a copy, okay, which are the titles that you would recommend?
So at the moment, it's GP Issues 1 and GP Issues 2. And this book has had different iterations. So it's available at Popular, right? And then
Okay.
there's another book called Grey Periscope. And that's also available at Popular. Grey Periscope is more of a comic style presentation of current affairs and current issues.
Oh yeah, I
So,
remember you showed me that time. Yeah, the illustrations. Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
So basically, there are three book titles available at Popular. Yeah.
Okay, so for the viewers out there, later on, Jit will actually share in the comments, okay, what are the titles that is available at Popular. So if you would like to grab a copy, okay, feel free to do so. Okay, so we have specifically invited Jit over here to share with us, okay, on his experience coaching GP, okay, and specifically tips, okay, for our students to excel in GP. So without further ado, so sorry, okay, you can hear, right? Yeah. So some things never change. My dog is one of them. Yeah. All right. So without further ado, okay, for the parents and students who are watching this, okay, if you like what we are doing, please give us a thumbs up. Okay, and if you have questions for Jit or myself, okay, please drop us a comment. Okay, so Jit, throughout your 15 years of coaching, okay, so what are some of the biggest issues that you have, or the most common issues that you have uncovered, okay, from students? Or are the challenges the same, or are they actually dynamic? They change over time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting question. Lots of students seem to be lacking in content knowledge, and many of them think that because they can read maybe the Economist magazine or Time magazine, that they will be able to kind of bridge that gap. But that is not really enough, because which comes down to the first tip that I wanted to share with everyone, and that is, reading is generally not enough, right? It's not enough, because to kind of take the words of this famous author Haruki Murakami.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
he's a amazing author, and he said something very, very interesting, and that is, if you are reading what everyone else is reading, you will be thinking what everyone else is thinking.
Oh.
So this is huge in terms of understanding how your reading has to differentiate, because ultimately what you read is what you're going to write about, right? So I find it very, very interesting that in a class or in a group setting, or even when I deal with students on a one-to-one level, it is very interesting that when student A writes something, student B also writes something similar, because for the simple reason that they are reading the same things, you know. So we need to understand that reading must bring about meaning, right? And they need to be able to construct meaning. So one way of understanding how to construct meaning is to look at Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm not sure if you use Bloom's in your teaching, but basically Bloom's taxonomy starts with several levels, right? At the most bottom is remembering. And then the next stage is to understand.
Right.
So this is where most students stay, right? They don't go beyond understanding, because the next level beyond understanding is application. And many students don't know how to apply, right? And then above application is analysis. Many students don't know how to analyze also. So in reading, they have to be able to go beyond what is being told to them in a magazine, right? So kind of like, just to share with you something, the news is filled with the stories about what is happening in Myanmar, right?
Yep.
They're talking about the coup in Myanmar and how they need to restore democracy and all of these things. But the thing that gets me is that, why is it between 1962 and 2011, when the military government was running Myanmar, how come international communities didn't say, hey, restore democracy, restore democracy? You know? Now, because Aung San Suu Kyi has been deposed and the military government has taken over, they are saying, oh, democracy is vital. But my point is this: if democracy was so strong in Myanmar, the military would have never taken over, or they would not have been able to take the steps. So this is what I mean by, when you are reading what everyone else is reading, you will have the same view. Oh, a military coup in Myanmar, bad thing, democracy needs to be restored. But if you look at the deeper things, Aung San Suu Kyi isn't necessarily an angel when she was running the country, right? For example, she never ever talked about the Rohingya crisis. She swept it aside. She never addressed it. You know? So my point is that, why, if democracy is important, then you should be addressing the Rohingya crisis. So that is what I mean by kind of like going beyond that general reading by understanding the background. Because if students don't understand the background, they will never have a complete picture. See? Yeah. So this is one of the challenges that I've seen. Students get, I mean, a typical student in a school will get articles after articles from their teachers, but there is no analysis of those articles. They are unable to correlate and understand how to apply and how to analyze. Right? So I think this is one of the key factors that impacts students' understanding, and then ultimately their writing. Yeah.
So, Jit, I have a question. Students often, like what you have mentioned, that students, they read, or rather they are all reading the same thing. Okay, but they understand, they are stuck at the level of understanding. Okay, but they cannot proceed further. They cannot apply further. So what is your tip for them? Let's say if they are reading the same article. Okay, what is your tip for these students? What are the things to look out for?
Okay, so maybe as just as a first step, students should read anything and everything, right? If they need to pick up a poetry book, go ahead and read poetry. If you need to pick up a fiction, pick up fiction and just read. And you don't have to read, excuse me, you don't have to read pages after pages. Just read maybe for 2 minutes, so that you understand the style of writing, the vocabulary, the expression, so that gives you many different insights into how something as simple as maybe environment is presented from a poetic perspective, and how environment is presented from, let's say, a fiction perspective. So I think that's the first step in kind of like expanding your knowledge and idea about how to construct meaning from what you are reading. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, we have to keep in mind that you need to be reading above your chronological age, right? So when we look at, let's say, the A-level comprehension passage, if we were to measure this passage, it is typically set, the passage is set at 18 years 3 months to 18 years 6 months, and slowly and surely the level of the passage is going up, right? So the student always has to ensure that they are reading beyond their chronological age, right? Which means that if they are 18 years old, they should be reading at maybe 18 years 6 months or 18 years 7 months, so that as they inch up in their reading, it becomes easier and easier, right? So one thing that they can do is they can kind of take some time to compare different articles that are out there, right? So take, for example, if Time Magazine puts out an article about Myanmar, then take a look and see what Al Jazeera is saying. Take a look and see what BBC is saying, and see what maybe the Washington Post is saying, right? So that is what I do for my students. I give them the most basic article and then show them other things that can build upon that article, right? So most of the time I will send these links in the WhatsApp groups that we have, and students then read, and then they are supposed to make summaries of the examples so that it goes into their example bank, right? So I would say that they have to take a wider approach towards reading, and I always say reading doesn't have to be for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Just 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening is good enough. But it has to be meaningful reading, which then translates into something that they can use. All right.
So so to sum up what Jit has mentioned, widely reading, taking different perspective, and it's not about the quantity of reading, but your quality of your reading, and deriving meaning and understanding through what you have read.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, so Jit, so what are the challenges you have encountered? Okay, since for your past 15 years, one of them they have mentioned is students are not reading or they are group thinking, reading the same thing. Any other observations? I think A levels recently was out. How do your students do? Just curious.
Well. They did quite well. I had if I remember correctly, about 11 had A's. We had 13 B's. I had 1 E, and I haven't heard from the other students yet. So so far it's 11 A's and 13 B's and 1 E.
And not too bad. It's primarily most of them are A's and B's.
Yeah, most of them are A's and B's. Yeah, some students may have messed up their paper towards the end. So it's unexpected that they got an E, but I can't really understand why that happened.
I've been sharing with the other tutors. Sometimes A levels throw tutors curveballs like this. Sometimes you don't really understand. Not the student has been doing so well in school, then suddenly, how come like that?
So this student in particular got a C for mid-years and a C for prelims. So not expected that a student will end up with an E for A levels. So that's a bit of strange, and I was a bit sad. A bit sad that the student couldn't make a minimum C.
Yeah, I totally can relate. So for the viewers out there, yes, especially I don't know, but from my take and perspective, I often see that my students' GP, their grades are actually quite wild. Okay, they can go up and down. So I'm not sure. What is your take on this? Or
my
are there
take
some
on
form of
this-
consistency?
yeah, my take is that different schools use different marking schemes, and that is a
True.
problem. You know, the
Got
marking
it.
schemes. I think maybe they are trying to, peg it at a higher level. So maybe they want students to work harder, but the problem is inconsistencies in marking.
True.
You know,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah. And it happened even when my daughter was in school, and she would show me her assignments. I would say that no lah, this cannot be this. Your teacher has given you a C, but I think this is at an E level because you look all of these problems here. You go and ask your teacher, why were these problems not addressed, and how come you got a C when I think it's an E. You know? So that particular year when my daughter was attending my classes, it was very very challenging because there was a lot of confusion because the teachers in school may tell her one thing and then she comes home or comes to class and I say something totally different and they'll be like, how come? You know, why is
Lost.
it like that? But I'm happy that whatever I taught her and whatever I taught the class was something that translated into the right results for her lah. You know,
Got it.
yeah. So coming back to your
Yeah. So sorry for digressing, everyone. Yeah, but this is this is the A level season, so we are just catching up. Yeah. Hey, so yes, Jit. Yep. Carry on.
So you were asking me what other challenges? I think the next challenge is having a structure. A lot of students don't have a structure, or they think that when they are writing an essay, for example, using argue, counter, rebut, that is a structure. But to me, that is not a structure, right? That is very fluid. You know, it's very very fluid. Okay. So the problem is that students need to think about how, for example, to select their points. They need to know how to plan their points and then ultimately write out their points. You know, so I've seen many students who, when they, for example, paper one, which is the essay component, when they receive the paper, they will look at the question. They will primarily select the question based on content, and then they will jot down a few points here and there. And then after maybe about 10 minutes of jotting down some points and drawing some circles and crosses, they will start writing. And to me, that is inadequate. Right? If you don't know the structure, if you can't implement a structure in your planning phase, then you are definitely going to not score very well. Right? Okay. So kind of like to give you an analogy, right? To give you an analogy, okay. I'll give you two analogies. One is baking a cake, right? When we bake a cake, we line up our ingredients, right? We have flour, sugar, some kind of emulsifier, whether it's oil or margarine or butter, and then we put those ingredients together, right? When we are baking a cake, we don't run to the fridge, take the flour, come to the counter, right? We don't run to the pantry, take the sugar, pour into the bowl. We don't do that. We line up all our ingredients and we mix them with inappropriate amounts. And this is something students don't do, right? They don't do. When I talk about structure, I'm primarily talking about ways in which you can write an essay and get consistent results almost every time. You know, it's just like when you go to your favorite kway teow hawker, he makes the kway teow in the same way. You know, he doesn't decide to change things. He doesn't decide to do anything new. It's always the same way. And the second analogy that I would like to share with you is what's called a universal tension model. Universal tension. When we look at, let's say, some exciting movie like maybe the Avengers or Transformers, right? When we look at those types of movies, they always start from an angle of helplessness. There's always somebody needing help. The superhero will go and help, right? Then there will come another situation where there is helplessness. But this time, helplessness turns into urgency, right? And then they put in more effort, more action, you know, to bring about this urgency. But before this urgency takes place, right, there is anger. Right? So you have helplessness, you have anger, you have urgency. And then through this urgency, they try and solve the problem. And then eventually, you have a safe zone, right? Where everybody is happy, the bad guy is vanquished, the bad guy is gotten rid of, and truth prevails. So this is a very simple model, right? Where we see it repeated in best-selling movies over and over again, right? Helplessness, anger, urgency, safe zone, right? So so this is just one model, right? I share many different models with my students and how they can use different models to ensure that their essays are structured. The moment they see a question, they know how to structure their points within these models. So what happens is that students ultimately tell a story. They're not just writing an argumentative paragraph, and then the second paragraph has no link to the first paragraph. So I think that students need to think about how they can tell a story rather than just argue, counter, rebut. They shouldn't be doing that.
So mechanical this is probably advocated in school. I'm not too sure.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so adopting some form of Hollywood form of storytelling methods.
I don't mean to say use the Hollywood model. At the moment I think it will be better for me not to go in deeper into the models that I use, mainly because it requires some background understanding. So that's why I use the Hollywood model to tell you that it is very possible to write an essay even using this model, right? To show, for example, if they say, can technology solve poverty? Or if they say, technology is the key to solving poverty, discuss, right? If that's a question that a student is attempting, then they can show, for example, the helplessness, how poverty is helpless without technology, right? And then how does this aspect create some level of tension, not necessarily anger, but tension, right, within people that may be poor. And then comes the urgency part. So how has technology solved the problems of the poor? And then ultimately, safe zone, right? What are the lasting benefits of technology and how they have enabled the poor to overcome certain issues that they are facing? So it can be used in this model as well.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So,
all right. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So, to the viewers out there, if you like what Mr. Jit Sharma has been sharing, okay, or if you'd like to just say hi to myself, okay, if hey, remember to just give us a thumbs up, okay, say hi, and drop us a comments section. So, Mr. Jit Sharma is the renowned GP tutor from the gptutor.com. So this is pretty much a free GP clinic for those who are still currently schooling in JC and A levels. Okay, so right now, we have just wrapped up with we have the second tip of adopting a proper structure. So, Jit, I actually like your analogy of cooking. Just now the very first part, you talked to me about bringing in the correct ingredients and what normally students do, instead of rushing to the kitchen to take this and to put out fire. So, what is the tip that you have for such students? Because we realize that to adopt a proper framework or structure, it takes time to adopt that, right? So instead of always firefighting, what is one thing that students can adopt immediately? From consistently firefighting to be an expert baker to put all the ingredients nicely.
So let's maybe deal with a topic. Let's say poverty, of poverty. So if a student needs to understand basically a simple structure, number one, he has to understand who are the people who are champions of poverty, right? Who are international leaders or certain advocates, right? And this works for every single topic that they can prepare for, right? Number one, understand who are the people, who are the champions that can or are fighting to eliminate or alleviate poverty? That's number one, people. Number two, organizations. Which organizations are at the forefront of dealing with poverty, right? And number three is milestones, right? Milestones. So take, for example, the Sustainable Development Goal. It is not possible to discuss poverty without discussing Sustainable Development Goal, because SDG number one is to eradicate poverty in all its forms in the world, right, by 2030, right? So these are essentially the key ingredients to deal with poverty. Number one, to know people. Number two, organizations. Number three, milestones, right? And with this alone, you will see that almost 1/3 of the essay, 30% of the essay can already be written. Every time you are discussing poverty, 30% of this information is there already, right? Because you cannot discuss poverty without discussing how certain people have been influential, how certain organizations have been influential, right? And similarly, the milestones. So this can apply for every single topic, right?
Got
So
it.
yeah, this is the easiest thing I can tell you in 1-2 minutes to start doing right away. Start doing. So if you don't know, take for example, if you are doing another topic, let's say crime and punishment or sports, right? If you don't know these three things, go and find out. The moment you find out, you will realize that 30% of the essay can be very easily written. Yeah.
Preparation.
So
All right.
there are other things that I work with my students to that brings the essay up to 60-70% very, very easily.
Got it. Got it.
So again, the analogy is just like the favorite kway teow seller. He makes it the same way all the time. We want to ensure consistent results. Every time we are working with a certain topic, the results are consistent. We don't have too much variations.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, Mr. Jeet, for sharing. Okay, adopting a solid structure. So yes, okay, to the viewers out there, okay, if you have a question for Mr. Jeet, okay, please drop us a comment. Okay, so Jeet, what is the last tip, or rather, what is the last challenge that you often observe?
So the last challenge is in students not having enough practice, right? So a lot of students come to me, and even with their parents, they will come to me and say, can you guarantee an A? I say like, no, I'm not selling durians over here. I cannot guarantee anything. If you don't put in the practice, I cannot guarantee anything. You see? So right now, I believe it is 12 weeks to mid-year exams for most J2 students.
Yep.
12 weeks. And
the
it's
block
30,
test.
for their block test. And block test, probably is in March. It's probably somewhere in March. But mid-year, mid-year is 12 weeks. And A-levels is 36 weeks, right? 36 weeks away. And I have this habit of every class, I will remind my students, I say, hey, you know how many weeks it is to A-levels? Don't worry, I will tell you. So even if they don't want to know, I will tell them. Yeah, I will tell them. So my point is this. If you intend to get a solid score for mid-years, how many essays are you going to write in 12 weeks? How many comprehension exercises are you going to do in that period of time? Right? Without having a core amount of work done, it is not possible for you to get an A or a B. Right? It's just like, going for the NAPFA or IPPT. Right? If you just imagine in your head, I'm going to run 2.4 kilometers, on an actual day, you're not going to be able to run it. Yeah. So the important thing is practice, but not just like doing 10-year series. I'm someone that has slightly different views about 10-year series. 10-year series are a good oracle for understanding what questions will never appear. That is how I see 10-year series, right? They are good in terms of being able to practice certain questions and certain skills, but I think students need to understand different levels of practice, right? So you shouldn't just be doing your own school papers, or you shouldn't be thinking that, oh, papers from MI are lousy. No, actually, papers from MI are very, very good. They are super duper good in being able to challenge students, right? So I think practice is something that students need to keep in mind. They need to practice within time limit. They cannot take forever to complete. Whether they are working on paper 2 in terms of the short answer questions, or writing the application question, they have to do it within time limit, right? So there are some techniques that I share with students. For example, comprehension is actually the easiest to practice, right? Because let's say on Monday, you can dedicate 30 minutes to just do short answer questions, and it's only 8 to 9 short answer questions. Okay? On Tuesday, you can spend another 20 minutes to do summary, right? And then on Wednesday, you can spend 30 minutes to do the application question. So in these small little bite-sized exercises, right? Number one, you are timing yourself. Number two, you are getting the practice, right? Then on Thursday, you can send it to me to mark. And then when we meet, I will give you feedback and the necessary inputs into where you need to make improvements, right? So I cannot stress enough how important practice is. And many students think that, oh, just by writing maybe 2 essays, I can get a high score. But that's not possible. Yeah, that's not possible. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So to the viewers out there, like what Mr. Jeet has mentioned, okay, emphasis on practice, especially time manage under a time setting.
Correct.
So, Jeet, I do have a question. Some of my students, they ask me, Mr. Teo, how I often find it very hard to practice at home setting, because there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
And what is your tip for these students?
I think it is more a mental thing than anything else. Yeah, I think you have to keep in mind that even in a school setting, you can have distractions, right? In the exam room, you can have distractions, people coughing behind you, or people sneezing, or making other weird sounds. Maybe the fan may be making a sound. So I think it is a mental thing. You have to understand that you need to be able to work in all conditions. Because the condition may not be optimal for you on the exam day. The fan may not be under you, or the aircon could be blowing directly into your face. So, I think it's a more mental thing than anything else. They have to, as I always say, the most important thing is to honor yourself. The moment you honor yourself, you will honor everybody else. You will honor your parents, you will honor your teachers, you will honor everybody else. So I think important is honor yourself. Just say that I have to do this, no matter what, I will have to do it, and I will complete it within a certain time frame. Yeah. So distractions are everywhere. I think if you say, oh, I'm distracted at home, it's just an excuse. What makes you think if you go outside, you won't be distracted? There's a higher chance to be distracted outside. You see? Yeah.
Got it.
So, that's just my view. Ultimately, I do understand that some students have younger siblings who may be, more mischievous, or, distracting their older siblings. I understand all of those things happen. But then the next best place is your school, right? Your school is the next best place to study, and there are so many study corners in your school that no one can actually tell you to leave. Or so I think you have the students have to make a place and call it their own. Yeah.
In a nutshell, must have the discipline to stick through.
Correct. Yeah. It's more a mental thing. Yeah.
Got it.
And I'm not saying this because I have some special thing. I do have a degree in psychology. I do understand how people's minds work. But it really is just as easy as saying, no, I will stay home. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So thanks for sharing. Okay, on the last tip on practice, you realize that there's a cube sign. It means practice, practice, practice. Okay,
Correct.
we cannot stress more. Okay, it has to be practice. All
Correct.
right. So for the viewers out there, if you know any of us here, remember to say hi. If not, give us a thumbs up on the video. Okay, and ask any questions that you like. Okay, directed to Jit with regards to how can I do well for my GP. Okay, so we'll be moving on to the last segment. Okay, on a case study. So Jit, probably you want to share with us. Okay, what is one of the more memorable cases, or one of the most memorable student you have coached so far that have stuck with you till now? Yeah.
Yeah, memorable. Okay, I mean, there are quite a few. One is where I regularly get called back to families who have younger siblings who now have, grown up, and then they have younger siblings who need coaching as well. So I feel, very honored when they call me back, that they have faith that I can see them through. So that is one interesting case. The other very interesting situation, although it's not so much in terms of how I teach, but one case was a situation where nobody was answering in class, and was one of the times that I was wondering, like, why is everybody so quiet? And my voice went up several decibels to say, you all should be answering. Why can't you not answer? So one particular student saw that I was a bit agitated already. So he left the class, and I was wondering, like, where is he going or what is he doing? He came back with a bottle of cold water for me. And he said, it's okay, you just relax first. The students may need more time to answer questions, but the thing here is that, what makes me reminisce about this is that students, even though they may not verbalize it all the time, they do care. And sometimes when I get Teachers' Day cards, from them, that is very, very touching for me, lah. So I keep all of those things with me as precious treasures. Yeah. So I mean, there are quite a lot, lah. I mean,
no worries.
Literally write a book on memorable moments, But I must also say, on the flip side, I have had some students that have come into my class, no interaction whatsoever. They sit behind, right? And then at the end of the class, they come to me and say, I don't like how you teach. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you very much. Because, with your young insight, I get to understand how much I need to improve. So sometimes it's always shocking as well, the kinds of comments that some students will make, because they are looking for some special magic fit, which is not possible, And then later you realize these students go from one tutor to another to look for something special, and that may not always be available or possible, So I think it takes all kinds, and I guess that's what makes teaching interesting, Yeah.
So many perspective. Yeah.
Correct. So I mean, it's I've seen every range of student, from the rich and famous, some students of MPs and former MPs, to students who really are in very serious trouble with their family and cannot actually even afford tuition. So I even do take care of such students. Because to me, at the end of the day, is how much you are willing to learn. And if you are willing to learn, I'm willing to teach you as much as possible. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So we have come to the end of the case study. So yes, okay, we'll move on to the very last segment. Okay, so if you'd like to get in touch with Jit, okay, with regards to his GP program and what he has to offer, okay, simply WhatsApp him, okay, 947-947-88867. Or what he has told me earlier on is 9GP tutor. Yeah, 9GP tutor.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, so Jeet, okay, I'm going to pass the stage to you. Okay, so who are you looking for, and who are you looking for specifically to help?
Well, I mean, if students are looking to get a different insight, have different perspective, then certainly I can help them, not just in paper 1, but in paper 2 as well. So, I mean, what we cannot discount are traditional methods by which you would have to approach the paper. For example, how you answer inferential questions, how you answer contextual questions, all of that is standard. How you write topic sentences, how do you, go about writing a more engaging paragraph, that's pretty much standard. But there's always significant depth to certain components which I can help, right? So a lot of what I do is tailor-made to students. And even if it's only one student telling me that they have a specific problem, I will work on the problem and then share it with other students as well. So students that want a different insight, they want different perspectives, then I think I'm the man for them to give them those views.
All right, so if you're looking for a different perspective, the perspective man, okay, call 9GP tutor.
Right. Easy number to remember.
Okay. So thanks once again, Jit, for sharing with the A-level community how to excel for GP. So I'd like to quickly wrap up, okay, with the very last segment. Okay, so we have come to the end, okay, of the support of AYE series. So once again, if you like our community series, please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive latest update on upcoming events. So thank you. Okay, we will be back next week with another series of support of Ace Your Econs. Okay, we messed up the scheduling a little bit. It's supposed to be faces, but next week we'll be back with a support. So next week we'll be interviewing a rheumatologist from NUH. Okay, he's a practicing doctor. So he will be sharing his journey practicing medicine and contrasting it with what you have actually undergone in med school. Okay, so stay tuned for next week, and I will see you all next week. Okay, bye everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you.